What's going on, everybody? My name is Nick, and welcome to another episode of Short Circuit Sports, the channel that brings you weekly major coverage of the sports world from a fan's perspective. I cover anything and everything from breaking news to scores and predictions with analysis to bring you guys anything that you might have missed in the sports world. That being said, we got a pretty good episode for you guys today. We got some Major League Baseball Hall of Fame inductions. Who got in, who got snubbed. Stay tuned for that. We also got a head coaching change mid-season in the NBA, and it might not be who you think it is. So stay tuned for that. We also got, and I know that for those of you that watch my videos on a weekly basis, you are probably tired of me talking about the head coaching carousel in the NFL, but we got part 3 of the head coaching moves for this week. A lot of breaking news in the NFL. And we also got the championship round edition of Nick's picks for the NFL, who I think is going to win and why. So you don't want to miss any of that. If you guys are not currently subscribed to this channel, please subscribe, like this episode, turn on your notifications. The whole thing would really help me out, would also really help out the channel, and I would really like to talk to you guys more on a week-to-week basis. So with that being said, stay plugged in, stay charged up, and let's get into it. So over the course of this past week, 3 former Major League Baseball legends were inducted into Cooperstown. Starting from the left to the right, we got catcher Joe Mauer of the Minnesota Twins. We got third baseman Adrian Beltre of the Texas Rangers. And we also got first baseman Todd Helton of the Colorado Rockies. Now, all 3 players, in my personal opinion, deserved to make it into the Hall of Fame. I thought, though, that there was a particular snub, and that was former legend Gary Sheffield of, I don't even remember how many teams he played for, but the guy was a hitting machine. I thought he deserved to get in, and he just barely missed the mark, and I believe this was his final year on the ballot. I think the writers got it wrong. I think Gary Sheffield deserved to make it in, but we are also here to praise these 3 legends and their contributions to the game. Joe Mauer made it in because he is arguably the best hitting catcher of his generation. He had an amazing 2009 MVP campaign. He batted .365, and I think that average hasn't even been touched since he hit that mark. He also has 3 other top 10 MVP finishes in his career, along with his 2009 MVP campaign. And amongst the top 11 catchers in wins above replacement in the Hall of Fame, he has the 4th best batting average for his career of all of them, .306. His on-base percentage is .388, which is 2nd amongst those 11. His OPS plus is 124, which is 7th. He has the 6th most total hits with 2,123. He is 3rd with 428 doubles, and batting runs above average, he had 239, which is good for 5th all time. So Joe Mauer, arguably one of the best hitting catchers ever, and he deservingly made it in. Moving on to Adrian Beltre, finished his career with 3,166 hits, 477 home runs, 1,707 RBIs, and 5 Gold Gloves. And he has 216 fielding runs above average in his career, which is apparently 5th best of anyone at their position. And among third basemen, he is behind only Brooks Robinson as the best defensive third baseman of all time. So Adrian Beltre deservingly in the Hall of Fame. Now, with Todd Helton, I know that a lot of major baseball savants claim that, if you play at Colorado, you have an unfair advantage of playing in a park at such a high altitude. I think that's completely bogus because you still got to put the bat on the ball, and Todd Helton did that arguably better than anybody in his generation. In his first 7 full seasons, Todd Helton had a .340 batting average, had an average of 35 home runs a year, and averaged 118 RBIs a season. In that 7-year stretch, he joined Hall of Famers Lou Gehrig and Chuck Klein as 3 of the only players with 2 seasons with 100 extra base hits. Also keeping in mind that this occurred during the steroid era, and Todd Helton was completely clean the entire time, which just makes those stat lines even more impressive. Helton would go on to play 17 seasons in Major League Baseball and finish with a lifetime batting average of .316. He finished with 2,519 career hits, and he finished with 369 career home runs, which are not slouch numbers by any stretch of the imagination. And like I mentioned before, this did occur during the steroid era, and to do all of that completely clean is still a testament to Helton's greatness. And I do believe that Todd Helton is a Hall of Famer, and he is deservedly in Cooperstown. Congratulations to all 3 players on amazing, amazing careers. Moving on to the NBA, the Milwaukee Bucks have made a mid-season coaching change, replacing head coach Adrian Griffin, who coached the Milwaukee Bucks to a 30-13 record, and they have officially replaced him with former Sixers head coach Doc Rivers. This was the 3rd shortest tenure of a full-time head coach in NBA history. Doc Rivers will now coach his 5th career team, and this is the first time he's ever taken over a team mid-season. So I have my own thoughts on Doc Rivers. Do I think he's a great regular season head coach? Yes, absolutely I do. In the playoffs, the stats speak for themselves. He is arguably the biggest choke artist in NBA history when it comes to playoff basketball. He's 111 and 104 over 19 career postseasons as a head coach. He only has 1 championship to show for it, and that was with the Boston Celtics in the late 2000s, where they had Paul Pierce, Kevin Garnett, Ray Allen, Rajon Rondo. You should have won multiple championships with that. He also went to the Lob City Clippers. Never won a championship there. He went to the 76ers and didn't do great there either. And now he's the head coach of the Milwaukee Bucks, and I don't see how this is going to turn out any different. I mean, the numbers speak for themselves. Doc Rivers is 6-10 in Game 7s. He is 16-33 with a chance to clinch a 7-game playoff series, including 9 straight playoff losses with a chance to reach the conference finals. Not to mention, he is the king of losing 3-1 leads in the playoffs. He gave up a 3-1 lead in 2003 when he was the coach of the Orlando Magic. He gave up a 3-1 lead with the 2015 Lob City Clippers. And he lost the 3-1 lead in the 2020 bubble playoffs with the Clippers, who had just acquired Kawhi Leonard and Paul George and also had Lou Williams. And that team was talking championship aspirations all year and completely fell apart against Denver, losing games 6 and 7 by a combined 28 points. Only 10 other teams in NBA history have lost 3-1 leads, and he has 3 of them. The Bucks have given him a 4-year, $40 million deal through the 26-27 season, and I do think that this is a mistake. This was probably about chemistry in the locker room. Yes, Doc Rivers is a former player. I'm sure players all around the league vouch for how well he might gel in the locker room, but I am telling you that the Milwaukee Bucks are making a huge mistake by going with Doc Rivers in the middle of their season when their former coach, who was given only 43 games to show his worth as a head coach, and he had a winning record. I don't know what Giannis Antetokounmpo has to say about this. I don't know what Damian Lillard has to say about this, but I do know that Doc Rivers does not make coaching adjustments, and when his teams are losing, he gets stubborn and he continues with the status quo even when the status quo is not working. So I think the Milwaukee Bucks are making a huge mistake here, and if they crumble, this is the reason why. Moving on to the NFL head coaching carousel. For those of you that have been watching my videos over the course of the last 2 weeks, you might notice that a bunch of names from this particular graphic are now officially gone. So, a bunch of head coaching moves have been officially announced over the course of the last week, and here they are. Starting from the top, I officially called this. I would like to go on record by saying that this is the one particular hire that I was like, this is the one that I'm telling you is going to happen, and it did. Los Angeles Chargers have officially inked a 5-year contract with former Michigan head coach Jim Harbaugh. He leaves Ann Arbor, Michigan after winning a national championship and now gets Justin Herbert as his quarterback to try and become one of the very, very few head coaches in football history to win a college national championship and a Super Bowl. So I think that this is a slam dunk hire by the Los Angeles Chargers. I think that he brings a culture and a passion for the game that the Chargers are sorely in need of. And I think that with Justin Herbert, a quarterback that Harbaugh covets above all of the other younger quarterbacks in the NFL, I think that he will do everything in his power to make sure that Justin Herbert has every opportunity to succeed. I think that the Chargers made the right move by going after Harbaugh. The Carolina Panthers have signed 42-year-old Dave Canales as their new head coach, coming over from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He was their offensive coordinator, and signing a 6-year contract after the year that he had with Baker Mayfield as his quarterback. I think the Panthers looked at that like maybe he can come in and help out Bryce Young. I'm not against the hire. I think that they needed an offensive mind to really turn around that ship in Carolina, and bringing in a young offensive-minded head coach is definitely the way to go for Carolina, and I'm not against the hire. The Tennessee Titans have officially signed Brian Callahan, the offensive coordinator for the Cincinnati Bengals. Obviously, he is the mastermind for Joe Burrow in Cincinnati. He played a vital role in Burrow's development, and obviously they would probably like to see what he can do with going to be second-year quarterback Will Levis. This is basically like the Canales hire. They needed a young, offensive-minded head coach, and I think that Callahan could very easily bring out the best in Levis. I do not disagree with this hire. Good job by the Tennessee Titans. The Atlanta Falcons, however, on the other hand, decided to go in a completely different route, hiring young defensive genius Raheem Morris, former defensive coordinator for the Los Angeles Rams. He was a part of the Super Bowl win for the Rams back in the 21-22 season, and he was a part of the 2020 Atlanta Falcons when he was their interim head coach. So there is a little bit of familiarity here with the Atlanta organization. I'm not against the hire. I think they needed some young, fresh blood in that organization, and I think that Morris can definitely provide that. However, with that young offensive nucleus that they have on offense with running back Bijan Robinson, they've got young wide receiver Drake London, and they have one of the best young tight ends in the game in Kyle Pitts. So I think that they kind of needed a young offensive-minded head coach, maybe draft a quarterback in this upcoming draft to pair with that, but they definitely needed a change of pace in that organization, and I definitely think Raheem Morris can provide that. Now, these are the last two head coaching openings in the NFL, and these are who is rumored to be on the agenda for these teams. The Seattle Seahawks, it has been suggested that they are waiting for the season to end for the Baltimore Ravens so that they can hire their defensive coordinator, Mike Macdonald. Mike Macdonald is having a great year with the Baltimore defense. I do think that he deserves a coaching spot wherever it is that he may go. And if he already kind of has a deal done with Seattle when the season ends, I will not be surprised if that is indeed where he ends up. And with the Washington Commanders, they have yet to find a head coach. It is also being rumored that they are waiting for the Detroit Lions season to end so that they can sign offensive coordinator Ben Johnson. They see what he's doing with Jared Goff in Detroit, and granted, I don't think Washington is going to hang on to Sam Howell as their quarterback of the future, and I think that whoever they do decide to draft, either in this upcoming draft or in free agency, Ben Johnson will most likely be the move for the Commanders. And now finally, we have my two picks. I'm so used to saying top 5 picks. These are the final 4 teams left in the NFL playoffs. Starting with the AFC Championship game, I have got the Baltimore Ravens pulling off the home win over the Kansas City Chiefs 27-24. Now, I have been on record saying that I think that this is a culmination season for Lamar Jackson. I think that he has all of the pieces that he needs in order to win his first Super Bowl with the Ravens, and he definitely has the defense to do it. The stats kind of back up the Ravens here. They're putting up 31.9 points per game at home this season, while the Chiefs are only averaging the Chiefs are giving up 18.3 opponent points per game on the road. So, I mean, the Chiefs defense does usually hold up on the road. However, I think that the Ravens offense, however, is just a little too good for this Kansas City team. Now, the Chiefs also have 20 points per game on the road this season, while the Ravens are only giving up 17.8 points per game, opponent points per game at home. So the stats definitely back up the Ravens here. I think that this is probably going to be a close game. It's probably going to be whoever ends up with the ball last. As per NFL tradition usually dictates, they want the ratings to go up. And barring Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs getting literally every referee call in their favor, which has happened before, I do think that Baltimore has all of the pieces necessary to pull this game out and advance to the Super Bowl. Now, in the NFC, as much as I love the Detroit Lions Cinderella story season, I've got to go with my gut here, and the San Francisco 49ers are my pick to win the NFC Championship and go back to the Super Bowl. The Niners are only giving up 19.1 opponent points per game at home this season. I think that if there is a team that can slow down this high-powered Lions offense, it is going to be the San Francisco 49ers slowing down the Lions this week. The Niners are also scoring 27.3 points per game at home. So the stats back up the Niners when they are at home. Well, let's look at how the Detroit Lions are doing. They are scoring 24.1 points per game on the road, so hostile environments really do not affect them. However, they are allowing 24.7 opponent points per game on the road this season, and I think that is the stat that really backs up the Niners here. They had a very tough game last week against the Green Bay Packers, the Niners did, and I think that when it comes down to it this week, while the Lions have a very, very good pass rush with Aiden Hutchinson, I do think that when it comes down to it, the Niners have arguably the best run game, minus the Baltimore Ravens. They have arguably the best rushing attack left in the playoffs, and I think that will be the Lions' downfall. I've got the Niners winning this one 24-21. That is all the time that we've got left for this particular episode of Short Circuit Sports. If you like this episode and you want to hear more, like this episode, subscribe, turn on your notifications, the whole thing would really help me out, would also really help out the channel, and I'd like to reach out to more of you guys on a week-to-week basis. If you agreed or disagreed with anything that I might have said in this episode, let me know down in the comments, and I will happily debate you in the comments or address it in future episodes. If I missed anything in the sports world that you would have liked me to talk about, let me know down in the comments, and I will be sure to also address that in future episodes. So, without any more interruption to your day, stay plugged in, stay charged up, and I will see you guys on the next episode of Short Circuit Sports. Have a good one. Peace.